honestly, we didn't have a unanimous decision on that using the original incorrect sketch. There was some mixed feelings about whether to do that. In hindsight...
Did they know it was incorrect at the time? That's what it sounds like.
It sounds like they couldn't agree to it. And it says, in hindsight, so yes, it probably wasn't a good idea. At the time, it seemed like the right way to go.
Really?
He's absolutely right. It was not a good idea.
Giving known wrong information?
Yeah.
There were roadblocks all over this state. All over Missouri, Oklahoma.
Sense. Why would you...
I remember this because, it was one of those notorious crimes that happened when my kids were little.
Right.
And so those things just stick with you. The most intriguing information I've received, however, is in regard to the description of the red truck in Morgan's abduction. According to my source, the red truck description actually came from that laundromat incident.
The same incident, yes.
Which had already been proven to be unrelated to Morgan Nick. So not only did an inaccurate composite sketch from an unrelated laundromat incident get released to the public, this information circulated for at least 5 years. And I'm here to tell you, this letter is the first I've heard that it was wrong.
Yeah.
And now we also hear that the alleged description of the red truck isn't reliable. My mind is blown. Is yours? As you can imagine, it just wouldn't be fair of me to publish this information about the red Ford truck and not follow up on it. So I started making phone calls, dozens and dozens of calls. As it turns out, I've not been able to substantiate that the red Ford truck was ever seen at the ballpark that evening of June 9, 1995. In fact, home video footage taken by various parents the night of the Little League game further back up this claim. Apparently there is no footage, and there is comprehensive footage available of a red Ford pickup truck being there that night. It's interesting to note the description of the would-be abductor from the laundromat incident just so happened to include information about a red Ford pickup truck with a white camper and Arkansas plates. This person needs to take a writing class because their shit is not, it's bugging me. For clarification about the red Ford truck, I checked the Morgan Nick Foundation website and found this information. The witness, which we've already established is not true, the witness also saw a red Ford pickup truck with a white camper parked nearby that disappeared about the same time as Morgan. The camper was possibly damaged in the right rear and is described at 4 or 5 inches too short for the truck, which was a short wheelbase, paint dulled by age. It was believed to have Arkansas plates. Well, this leads to more questions. What witness saw the red Ford pickup truck June 9th, 1995? The Morgan Nick Foundation website seems to indicate there were witnesses that evening. Who were these witnesses? Why aren't they named? How many people actually saw a red Ford pickup truck? And why isn't a red Ford pickup truck seen on any of the video footage taken by the parents that night at the Little League games? This leads me to only one conclusion. If the composite sketch description is wrong and the description of the vehicle is wrong, we don't have any idea who took Morgan Nick or what they were driving.
Right.
To be honest, we don't even know that a man took Morgan Nick. It would be fantastic if you reached out to some of the old investigators outside the Alma PD who worked on the case who can back up every bit of this information I just gave you. Maybe it's time to run a story with accurate information. It's not your fault, I know, but we would hope as journalists that this would matter to you. And it says, thanks, the cold case investigative staff of Today in Fort Smith. So apparently they've been doing like an independent audit of information and found out that like
none of the shit
were given, and they said it never became public for the first 5 years. But I'm telling you,
they keep saying that 5-year thing, but I've never heard that. Well,
I'm wondering if that was something released like locally, like, you know,
around Fort Smith,
and it just never got propagated. But I mean, like, I don't understand that because almost every year on the anniversary of Morgan Nick being taken, shared. Like all the Central Arkansas stations all talk about it, and there's never been any updated information. I have literally never heard that, and I've been aware of this case since the day it happened. I mean, it's just crazy to me. So everything that's ever been shared
has been totally wrong.
Completely false, and no wonder there's never been a lead on what happened to this child.
And they won't get one now. It doesn't matter if they go back and talk to the witnesses because that was obviously wrong.
It's so confused and convoluted.
And everybody had in their head for so long, we're looking for this type of vehicle and this type of person. And everything, this is just basic psychology. When you're concentrating on that, everything else fades away.
And it wasn't like a general description. That was a very distinct what they released on that truck about the thing being too short. That was
faded red, the white camper shell.
Everything else that was, like you said, just we didn't even examine. We didn't even think.
Right, and to say, oh well, maybe someone will realize something was amiss. No, they won't, because they've been fixated and focused on a red Ford truck with a white camper shell that was too short, and this composite picture, and everything else fades away.
Well, and the thing
that's how memory works.
That's like what the guy said. Like, it's going to have to be a family member or somebody of the abductor at this point,
because it's going to have to be a fluke.
Right, there is nothing to go on. I mean, that's just, that makes me sick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, for all these years, she's.
I think that her mom ought to be able to sue the Alma Police Department because they did that shit knowing that it was wrong.
They said that.
I mean, it's like, we don't have good information, but
we got this. It's kind of hanky. We'll just put it out.
This is the best we got. It's not right, but it's
something.
Yeah, it's a vehicle and a composite. It's not the right one, but fuck whatever. Put it out there.
I can't help but think ever since the 3 girls were found in the, what they call it, the murder house or something, or House of Horrors. Amanda.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. I know. I can see the girls' faces.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. That, like, Chicago or something like that.
And the little girl that was found with the... God, I'm sorry, the names are not coming up. But she was found years later, and the girl that was kept in the backyard that was found 20 years. I can't help but think,
somewhere that's where Morgan's
these little girls that have been missing for so long, are they still out there? I mean, because they haven't found anything.
Like, is it? Hopefully that's the case, or is it?
Oh God, I hope it's not the case.
Yeah,
God.
I don't know.
Which is worse, because that one girl, she had, and it's a shitty situation, and I get it, but she had her shit set up, and she got raped 4 or 5 times a week. I don't know. Is death worse than that?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I really can't.
I mean,
it would be different for each situation.
Yeah, because she wasn't chained up and shackled up, but those 3 girls were.
Yeah, and they had to go through. Like, I read those books. Like, they had to go through.
They would be like hanging, tied up,
and like so many like miscarriages and stillbirths.
Right.
Like, he got him a puppy at one point, and then they tried to do something, and so he killed the puppy in front. I mean, just horrible. Like, when you're in that, I just can't even imagine. So, as a parent, I don't know which you'd wish for. I mean...
Because, if they were found after 25 years of being tortured...
They would be so
they're
psychologically
not the
damaged.
Same...
No.
They're not your little girl anymore.
And so...
Can you just
deeply
just the psychological
damaged.
place you have to go to survive that. I don't know that after 25 years there's any coming back from that.
No, there is.
You want to talk about PTSD in the absolute worst way.
I mean, the longest that I know of is that one girl that was in the backyard. That was, 18 years?
I think so. I remember from when Ross and I first started dating, he was telling me about this kid that he went in Iowa that he did like martial arts with, that went missing. And it was like a big story that you heard on like 2020 and national news and all that. He ended up being found as an adult. He had been kept like that as somebody's pet. I mean, it's...
So did he escape, or did the person die?
Actually, they had brainwashed him.
He was like now recruiting.
He was what?
He was recruiting new kids.
He was recruiting for
Oh God.
So a dark-haired boy?
His name was Johnny Gosh.
kind of blondish brown.
Oh.
Wow.
I wish I could come up with names, but my brain is so blank I can't think of anyone's name.
But it's just like you said, I mean, like, I know obviously he shouldn't have been recruiting other kids, but...
Yeah, but I mean, he was brainwashed from a young age.
You can't, like, put normal standards on them of right and wrong because they've literally been in this survival situation.
There's so many people that are like, oh, brainwashed bullshit.
Oh, no.
But we're talking everything is stripped away from you.
Right, and when you're dependent on somebody for food, water,
And this brainwashing that they don't believe in, this is 24/7. This is all they hear.
Like,
it's
if
all
you
they
don't
know.
comply, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't get sunlight, you don't get, when you don't have a blanket to wrap yourself in. I mean, they strip away their humanity. And
because people that say that
have never been
that brainwashing isn't real. Here's the thing, okay, so at first you play along. Because when you play along, you get food. You get to go to the bathroom. You don't have to piss yourself. Maybe you get to walk outside for a minute or whatever. And you keep telling yourself, you keep having to fake it for so long. If you tell yourself a lie enough, you will believe it.
You start to believe it.
That's human psychology. It's not, I wouldn't. Yeah, the fuck you would.
Fuck you wouldn't,
Yeah, you would.
You don't know until you're put in those situations. Like, I've heard people say things about, like, that JC Dugard and stuff about, like, part of her must have... No, she was trying to survive. She would have done anything to keep looking for a way out. To keep looking
and the
for
thing
safety.
is, I mean, if they kidnap a 2-3-year-old kid, I mean, a 2-3-year-old kid, after... You're with them every day after 6 months to a year...
Oh yeah.
You telling them, your parents died in a horrible accident, or
if you try to run away,
I'll kill your parents. Eventually they're gonna.
And I think she was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
She was little.
I don't think she was that little.
Was she not? They all start, and it's awful.
But if it was just her, that's one thing. But she ended up having 2 kids,
and she had
a lot harder to.
While
she
in
had
captivity,
to. She had to. And I think, she was just young when she had the first one. Like.
Well, she's like 14, wasn't she?
If that.
Just old enough to have them.
Yeah, just barely biologically old enough to.
Right.
And, it's not just about, like, the risk you'll take for yourself, you won't take for somebody else. Like, it's just... I couldn't question what any of them do because I've never been in that situation, and that's... That's... Ugh. But it's sickening... when you hear always before you assume they're dead, but now as these are happening and they're being found after 20 years, you're like, oh my God, how many of these kids that are still on the missing list and have been there all along, they're still alive, and going through God knows what. And like you said, I don't know the answers to which is better, like thank God or
yeah. That's...
I just can't imagine, like, if your kid had, even though, like, Alexis doesn't live with you today, if Alexis went missing, you would never want to move.
Nope.
You would never want to change your phone number, because what if, they got a chance? You wouldn't want, and so life has to just kind of stop.
Well, and as a parent, I mean, losing a child's got to be the absolute worst.
I can't.
But not knowing.
But hold on. But is it? Is that worse than knowing that your kid was tortured for 20 years?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I think the answer would change every day, I
don't. I think that losing a child is not as bad as knowing that your child was tortured every day for 20 years.
Yeah, or not knowing. Are they being tortured? Are they being treated good? Are they even alive?
Yeah, every day you sit and you drink your coffee and you're sitting there thinking what's happening to them right
scenarios.
now. Yeah. At least if they find a body, you're like, I know
there's closure there. Yeah.
And you can, not like you could ever move on, but you know what I mean? You're not like every day with your coffee, you're like, what's happening to them right now? I can't even imagine. And so,
not move on, but certainly start the grieving process.
Right. And know that the worst is done.
Yeah.
That at least their suffering is over and nobody has the power to hurt them anymore. I just can't imagine if I were calling Nick and I find out that for 5 years, everything that they put out there about my kid was patently wrong. So
I would be suing the fuck out of them.
Essentially took away any chance of her being found in that time.
And then the comments about them debating whether or not because they knew it was wrong. Like, huh?
That just doesn't. I mean,
that makes no sense.
Yeah, I would own Alma, Arkansas.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, because
yeah, that township would belong to me.
Yeah, it'd be calling Nicksville.
Morgan Nickville.
Yeah, I mean, because essentially for at least that first 5 years, there was no chance of her being found unless he just brought her back.
Yeah, because they were looking for the wrong vehicle and looking for the wrong fucking guy.
Was there another big story out of Alma?
I don't remember. That's the one that always there was a murder up there, like of a college girl that was.
That's just insane. All right, well, that was a pretty ginormous fucking buzzkill.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got to talk about? That's all I had, and I didn't even have that. That was your article, so.
Thanks, bitch.
Yeah, I scrolled to it on the Facebooks, though, so I'm taking credit.